So I spent 12 hours on this video and I absolutely hate it. It flopped. Despite storyboarding, filming on a $4,000 camera, editing for literal hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And you know, Instagram is a cruel mistress, so it flopped really hard. But at this juncture, we have two choices, right? Either I can blame the algorithm and make more bad content, or I can blame myself, rip it apart, and actually improve. And now 99% of creators are just gonna blame the algorithm, keep doing the same thing over and over again. And I know you know the definition of insanity. So if you're tired of wasting hours and hours and hours in production, here's my process for how I critique my videos to actually improve. And this method literally took me from 0 to 30K in 4 months. So, and I call this process like the opening of the third eye for content, because a lot of people are like, oh, like this part of my video was bad. There's this gap between the videos people want to make and what they are currently producing, but they don't know all the little things in between that help close the gap. This process is also a great way to dissect competitor videos and then use what you've learned from actually doing research into your own. And it's as simple as understanding what analytics mean and also following this list, which we'll get to in a second. And we'll start with analytics because they're a little bit easier to understand. It's literally numbers and graphs. So this is the retention graph for the video that I showed at the start. Obviously, it is awful, and that is the core reason that videos don't get pushed out. The sole purpose of the algorithm on Instagram is to keep people on the app, so it's only going to show videos, push videos that are doing that effectively. If Instagram sees that people are watching your videos and they are there for 3 seconds, then closing the app, in what universe would be like, yeah, more people should see this one? Like, no, it's just not how it works. Because the more people that stay on their app, the more their ad space is worth, and that's how they make money. Point blank. That's a baseline. Good retention is around 60 to 70%. And also, that app is called Instagram Edits. It's the best way to see detailed analytics on all your posts, and yes, it is free. And yes, I have worked with them in the past. So the first graph is the drop off in the beginning graph, which is probably the one you're most familiar with. This means that the hook was absolutely terrible. Basically, you just want to look at the hook, understand why it didn't connect, and adjust it that way. Like, was there a reason for them to stick around? Did you say something polarizing that caught them off guard and stopped the scroll? Was it overwhelming? Like, essentially just what happened. And I'll explain what good hooks are when we get to the competitor analysis section. Like for my video, I was like, do you ever feel like your personal brand isn't personal? And instead, I probably should have said, if your audience doesn't know who you are, you're never going to grow your personal brand. And here's how to fix that in 60 seconds. Like, I would watch that video. Damn. I'm really ripping myself apart in this video. And this is the second graph, which has a drop off in the middle. And this one means that your value was terrible. I have a video that explains how to fix that. If you don't feel like watching it, essentially explain what your value is, how it helps the person, and why they desperately need it. And if you want to be good, go watch the video. Also, you can always remake these videos with the fixes and see how they perform on trial reels, or even repost them to your account if it's small enough. You don't have to take the L entirely. And with videos like this, it's the easiest to fix. Literally just cut the end point and repost it, or just find a way to make the ending like that much snappier, because obviously your attention will go up across the entire video and Instagram will push it out more. And if your graph looks like this, the idea was probably pretty weak, and sometimes you just take the loss and move on to the next one. And to briefly cover engagement metrics, those being likes, shares, and comments, for most of these, I just want you to use common sense, okay? And quick preface, if you are using your call to actions to beg for likes, follows, shares, subscribers, whatever, stop. Like, when is the last time you have been asked to perform an action by someone online, whether that be go to this link or like my video or share it, and you've actually done it? Never, right? So there's literally no point in asking for these things. Save yourself the 2 to 3 seconds of watch time. The only time you should be doing a call to action is when you have something to give to the audience, so the engagement that they're giving you is traded for something. And that gets us into likes, which boils down to basic viewer psychology. You are only going to like something not when asked, but when you actually like it. Like when I see some cool stuff, I'm like, damn, and I like that. Because viewers' engagement is the only thing they have to trade for the currency of attention in which they're giving you. So when they choose to like a video, they need to feel it's like, oh, like I'm liking something because it's like artful and good, and they feel good about themselves for liking it. And this comes down to making cool videos that people connect with. That's the basis of it. And that's why we dissect videos, to make them better, that people like them. And that also plays into shares and reposts, but you can influence these a bit more by being relatable or controversial. In terms of massively viral video, you want 1 in 100 people to be sharing it. But all you need to know basically is to remind the viewer of their friend and be yourself and to have fun, essentially. Now, comments are interesting ones. So you're either gonna bait comments with ManyChat and promise them that trade-off like I was mentioning before, or you can get people to start fighting your comments by taking a really strong stance inside, defending that in your video, and then people who are juxtaposed to you in the comments will be like, this is wrong, and then if you can have your commenters who are agreeing with you fight with those people, it's just like, you've seen the massive threads of people being mad at each other for no reason online, and that's what you want in your comments, because Instagram's gonna be like, oh my god, this is getting people to talk and interact with each other, and you know, obviously any attention for them is good attention. That's why we want to take polarizing stances on things, to get that dynamicy between the viewpoints that were conflicting. Now we're gonna get into how to rip your videos apart using my latest piece of trash as an example. So number one, and before I press play, is the topic. That's essentially, what is the video about? Is it niche or broad? Is it a hot take, controversial, or safe? You need to be able to answer all of these questions, and the topic is arguably the most important part of the video. The core idea is what determines if it does well or not. And honestly, I would say the topic for this is pretty strong. I just think the way I displayed it was not. Okay, so obviously first, for context, let's watch it. You ever feel like your personal brand isn't actually personal?
Like, I've made hundreds of authentic pieces of content over the last 6 months.
But I just feel like I've been talking a lot while saying. And the problem is I know exactly what works and how to rip views. But views are vanity metrics. They don't actually exist. I feel so disingenuous. Like, beyond content tip guy, you guys have no idea who I actually am. Like, did you know that I can do an ollie, that I'm really close to my grandma? Probably not. I know this is not just a me problem. A client of mine with 170,000 followers was feeling the same way. Millions of views, but zero brand presence. But I'm not one to wall, so I figured out how to make my brand personal again. To start, if we're being personal, we need to know who we are. I just wrote down all my goals, fears, and beliefs, then tied those with my backstory. This is so the messaging sounds like me, and the audience is actually connecting with the right stuff. However, as brands, we also need a mission. Imagine if Apple was like, I mean, our phones are alright. And for me, I want to murder corporate slop with art. So once I had my me and my mission, I married the two to create my mantra, which is my commitment to helping founders tell their stories in unique, artful ways. So if your content feels soulless, try whipping one up. And when you go to post, make sure whatever you're saying matches your mantra. If not, trash it, because this is a long video. Okay. The topic here was strong because a lot of people in the community struggle with feeling like their brands aren't a part of themselves, or they don't really understand their niche. And obviously you are the niche, but it's really hard to fit your entire personality into the 60-second videos, which is where a lot of people struggle. And the problem with one is I diluted it with some educational BS that like didn't even contribute remotely to what was being said. And that's just a cop-out for me not being confident in what I have to say. So instead I should have taken the angle of like why your personal brand feels fake, and then maybe provided some insight on how to fix that rather than just like, oh, make a mantra. Because honestly, like I didn't even do that. Why did I make a video? Like, why did I make a video on that? And stuff like that, just be honest with yourself. Like, if you lie to yourself, it's like, oh, this, I think, no. You and I both know exactly what is wrong, right? And you need to understand what's wrong with your videos. Okay, so let's take a look at the hook one more time.
I feel like your personal brand isn't actually personal. Like, I've made hundreds of authentic pieces of content over the last 6 months.
I just feel like I've been talking a lot about things. Okay, 8 seconds for a hook is absolutely ridiculous. Like, what was I thinking? And essentially when you're analyzing videos, you want to look for the exact phrasing you used and notice the 4 hook types: verbal, visual, written, and spoken. Also, if like one person comments that they want a video on hooks, I'll rip one next week. And obviously the verbal is what you're saying, the written is what's on screen. A little elite ball knowledge. You want the text to be coming in as you say it. On Instagram, I am a big text hook hater. I think it's stupid and ugly. So to kind of sublet that, you can have the text come on screen in groups of 3 to 5 as you say them. Now, the only part about this hook that I do like is the visuals. So I think like this angle of myself looking at my office is super cool. I think the fact that I have a bunch of like little phones and stuff around me is super cool. And I think like this silhouette shot is okay. I need more clips faster. A good rule of thumb is 3 or 4. I think the main problem here was the audio was super echoey. What I was saying and what was on screen, although it like looks nice, it really didn't mean a lot of stuff to people. And after spending all day editing this video, I knew that it wasn't good and I still posted it. This is what I get for being lazy, essentially. I was like, oh, like it'll be fine. It was not fine. I was just being a stupid chud, really. Yeah. And to fix this, you can do obviously like a crisp voiceover. If you don't have a mic, you can literally hold the phone like 6 inches from your mouth and get something super usable. And then you can use the beat drops of the music to complement the transitions. That's something I just did not do here. And the music here totally overpowered what I was saying, so make sure you're using lower volume instrumentals to make sure that doesn't happen. I just overall needed a better, more urgent hook because most people didn't even see the second half of the video. And that's the problem with bad hooks. Like if you have a shit hook, you could have so much awesome context in the back, but no one's gonna get there. And that gets us on to number 3, the pacing. And that's the visual dynamicy between fast and slow. And it comes down to how long each clip lasts and the total length of the video. In this video, pacing haunted me so bad. Like that was where most of the time went when I was editing it and tinkering with it. And I feel like the way I explained this idea didn't really make much sense either. Now, a good rule of thumb for pacing is that no clip is over 3 to 5 seconds. And you want a pattern of like slow, fast to keep the viewer engaged. Because too much fast is overwhelming, but too slow is obviously boring and then they leave. And you'd also outline this when you're scripting. Like if you look at your script and it's like short line, short line, medium line, you should have a good pace when you go to film. A good way to check your pacing is just to scroll through the video and see at a glance what everything's looking like. I would say this one's okay. I just don't think it connected well with the tone and what I was trying to convey to the audience. And that kind of gets me to my next point of the cool shots, because that's one thing that you can look for in your videos and competitors as well. Unique standout shots. So I would say this shot's unique, that shot's pretty unique, that shot's unique, this one's okay, this is okay, this is pretty cool, this is pretty cool. This video was for a storyboarding video, so obviously the shots are going to be above average. But also the camera was really messed up for this, so a lot of the shots that could look a lot crisper and cleaner didn't. And again, that was just user error. A camera tutorial would take maybe 5 minutes to watch. And on top of competitor analysis, you can literally just rip shots from websites like Film Grab or iCandy just to kind of get your cinematic sea legs wet. Because when it comes down to cinematography, there are the basics, but a lot of what is going to make you good or seem like you know what you're doing is just ripping from professionals until you kind of have that cinematic eye, kind of the third eye thing I was talking about at the start. And then just rules of thumb for basic shots: make sure you're always moving, either walking to frame, waving your hands, stuff like that helps with engagement, even if the shot is a little bit more static and boring. Like humans are we can move. And if you want to learn more about everything I just talked about, go check out storyboarding video. Really proud of that one. And then number 5 is the background music. And for this, you're kind of looking for like, what's the vibe? Is the music changing? Is the sound kind of helping convey the energy? So I used about 4 songs for this video. And the way I kind of transfer in between those is by having a stop stopping point whenever there's an inflection. I lead into a riser, I add a whoosh, and then the next song starts. Because obviously if you're telling a dynamic story, not everything's gonna be super happy, not everything's gonna be super sad, so you need to have music in the background that matches the cadence of that. And again, instrumentals, I would say that my song choices here are okay. A lot of it was a bit slow, and I think that didn't help. The way you use music is really, really helpful for rhythm, so something to be said there. The number 6 is captions and subtitles. I would say this is one thing that is really hard to mess up once you know what you're doing. The first thing you should consider is, are you using them? Because the answer should always be yes. And then that kind of comes down to how they are styled. So there are 2 types of fonts that you should be using. Number 1 is like your, I would call it like every line font. Essentially, that's just my handwritten font that I made. You can't really see there. And also I have something called a title font, which is Display Fair Display. And that is like, if I want to drive a point home, or if there's a more important piece of information that I want people to understand, I'll do that. And I switch between my 2 colors, just help everything stay nice and branded. Captions really help, you know, with engagement, but also pacing and humor. And I use this kind of triangle framework. And essentially, if the captions are doing a lot, the audio and the visuals are not. But if the audio is doing a lot, then the captions and visuals are not. And if the visuals doing a lot, then the captions and audio are more subtle. So basically, kind of focus on one at a time to make sure that you're not overwhelming the audience. And at the end of the day, captions are not what made this video perform poorly. And next up is speech. So are you using slang? What's the tone? And what's pissing me off is that I used to do a voiceover, but I felt like I lost my personality. And now that I'm not doing a voiceover, people are complaining about my audio. So I'm in kind of like an infinite purgatory. But I had this mic and then I dropped it. I was doing a topical shot and there was like an adapter and then it fell. Yeah, it was an expensive mistake. But you live and you learn, right? And YouTube has helped a ton with me being more comfortable about talking in general and just on camera. But now I've literally made a secret TikTok account where I'm just training myself to be better and more personable on camera. In terms of like growing as a creator, like being able to connect with the audience in an authentic way is here. And honestly, this is short form. You don't have to be super insanely professional. Like, just have fun with it. Whatever level of authority you're trying to grab, take a look at how people are speaking your niche. And sometimes, you know, taking that and adding like a good bit of authenticity in your story is what's going to help them most. I know one of my clients who I consult for has been struggling in the trading space because everyone there is like, how I made $1 jillion. It's just not real. And one of his goals is to kind of pave the way with cinematography, which I think is very admirable. I'm like, dude, you have to be grossly authentic. And I think it's going to catch a lot of people off guard and do quite well. And that's the same for any niche where like the standard is like super polished, you know? And number 8 is pretty simple, and that's just purpose. Like, what is the deeper meaning behind this piece of content? I would say it was pretty intentional, but just executed wrong. Honestly, every single piece of content needs to be intentional. Everything you put out has to have some place in a greater picture, and this does require a good bit of planning, but that planning is so unfathomably worth it. Like, if you're posting just to post versus posting to improve yourself or inspire others, like, you're gonna have such a more fulfilling experience and be able to do it for a long period of time, and content is obviously a long-term game. Okay, and then number 9 is editing and post-production. I would say I'm good at editing. I mean, really good at editing is just understanding the feeling behind it, but a lot of what good editing comes down to is how you film. So like, if you have wonderful shots that are simply edited, that story gets conveyed so much better than if you try to fix everything and, you know, fix it in post. And the crazy thing is that like over editing like I do doesn't even perform as well anymore. Generally simpler, rawer videos are doing better on average just because of the way the pendulum of Instagram has swung. Eventually it will come back, but you know, if you're just starting out, like lean towards the raw side. Use your disadvantage as an advantage. Use your ignorance in editing as an advantage and just make simpler videos. You can still make them beautiful, but simple does not mean bad. You can still have beautiful videos that fit the format of Instagram, but don't take 12 hours to edit. And in terms of schedule, that does play a role. Instagram does look at the cadence in which you're putting things out. Right now I'm posting about 2 times a week and like once on YouTube. The industry standard is around 3 to 4 times a week plus 2 YouTube videos a week. I finally fixed my schedule and allowed myself time to produce content. If you're just starting out, it only gets busier as you grow as a creator, so making time for content is number 1,000 billion priority. The number 11 is the value delivery. Is the average viewer getting something important out of this video? And that doesn't mean like educational. It can be insight, emotional validation, entertainment, or obviously practical tips, because there is some level of education you can get. And that value needs to be clear at the start and then given to them at the end in order to kind of complete their satisfaction. And my value was not clear at the start, and then I threw in the stupid mantra thing, so I did not do a good job of that. So, you know, like, people do really well with 3-step frameworks, but you can just make those sound a bit more authentic and actually connect with people. Number 12 is the call to action. Where does it show up, if any? How is it worded? And are you using tools like ManyChat? The only time I would use a call to action is, one, if you have a series where it's like follow for next episode, because there's a new thing with Instagram where you can link your next video in the video, which I think is pretty cool. And 2, like I said before, if they're getting value for performing an action. So kind of a trade-off there. I have a video on value dead. I'm sorry to plug videos. I just study. I don't know. And a good way to know if your value is good beyond the structure I gave is, would you pay $5 for it? Is it clear and actionable? And would you be genuinely interested in what you're saying? Or are you just saying something that you think is going to get clicks and interactions and engagement? And my favorite terms of value as of lately is supporting long form video, which, you know, actually explain things in depth, and then linking people to it through short form content, because you actually help people out. And with that, you now have your third eye for content opened, hopefully. I hope that doom scrolling becomes a lot less fun after this process. It's really important, not just for creating, but anything you do, just to rip yourself apart. You know, deliberate practice and study is how you become an expert at things. Just doing something every day is not enough. This stuff is so competitive and you need to want to be the best. If you want to hang out, we do a 3-day free trial in my community. I'd be happy to analyze your videos for you. All right, love you. See you next week.